All right, fellow traders, what's going on? Watch this video here for Thursday, November 14th. Really nice day in chat. Teamwork was great. Big thanks to everybody. I'm going to go right in. I'm showing you the SPY here real quick. We're just hanging out pretty close to all-time highs. Going to go right into the watch list video for tomorrow. Fuel cell, big breakout today. Been watching this one. It actually gapped up and opened at 60, went all the way to 90. So that's a huge move. Settling in at 81. Absolutely worth watching for some kind of red to green tomorrow. It might come back and revisit this dollar area that it hit back here in early July. And who knows, maybe break out above that. So really big volume today and a strong move. Absolutely goes on watch. CRWD, just a really beaten up recent IPO. Recent, I guess, meaning it IPO'd back in June, but still seems to have found support around 45 and then a pretty nice pop today. The range on that thing, 46.65 all the way to 52.44. So that's a big day up to the top of a range. So is tomorrow the day to trade it? Probably not, but you never know. Maybe we get a low risk red to green and maybe gives us some money. So, as you guys know, I'm a day trader. I'm in cash every night, so I'm just looking for intraday trades based off the daily charts that I might catch a trade in tomorrow, right? Most of you know that, but I never know if someone's just watching me for the first time, right? Peloton, PTON, big move today. Another recent IPO, getting close to all-time highs. But when you look at it on an intraday basis, they had news and it just ripped and gave a pullback, but ended up closing pretty strong. That one could be a pretty handsome red to green tomorrow if we get the proper setup. Zillow, after the gap up, the letter Z, just really kind of flagging sideways after it's holding the gap pretty well. So I want to watch it. It's kind of almost still in its opening range, or for the range of the day that it gapped up. It did break it the next day, but then kind of sideways. So I don't love this one, but I do think it's worth watching. ELMD is a lower volume stock. This big spike here still didn't hit 500,000, so I was kind of on the fence as to whether I should put it on there or not. But it did move from 8 to 950 on an intraday basis, so I am going to watch it. Kind of the same scenario with MYT, and this one's really, you could argue, been running for a week straight. So should it be on watch today? I don't know, probably not. I had this gap up, and then you could argue it went into a range and then broke out of that range today. As I'm talking about this, I'm kind of on the fence. I'm going to leave it on there, but I'm certainly not in love with it. They did have a decent sounding headline, so for that reason, I'll leave it on watch. But it does feel, pretty darn extended in the short term. Certainly keep that. I doubt I'll trade it tomorrow, but if that can pull in for a couple days, absolutely keep this MYT on your radar, though. It's interesting to me. It's just extended. AGRX is, again, I say this every time I bring up the chart, I say this, one of the weirdest daily charts I've ever seen, right? You had this gap down, 2 nasty days, then a huge gap up, sells off, then it rips for like a week straight, and now it's gone into a sideways chop. But for the last 2 days, it hasn't broken its early high. You guys know I like to look for this, right? Here's 3 days ago. There's its early high, 15-minute candle. So put in its early high basically in the first 20 minutes. Yesterday put in its early high basically at the open, and the same thing today. So what I'd like to see is, it take out its early high tomorrow. I don't know, an hour in the afternoon, something like that, but not right off the bat. And we might get a nice continuation of this crazy squeeze that it put on. So we've got a couple red days, and now it becomes interesting to me again. It pretty much came back down into support too. JAGX, this one's kind of obscure. But look at the volume yesterday and then today. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. So you had this big day yesterday from 83 cents to $1.22, and then today kind of a quiet inside day. I like it over today's high, over 115. I think that might be enough to push it over that 122, maybe come up and test this $1.60 level. So that one's interesting. It's kind of obscure, but I think it's a lower float stock too. Wi-Fi, I've been watching this one, WIFI. No trades in it again today. You had this big breakout, and it's still just kind of flagging. Let's see. Yesterday's high, 1232. Today's high, 1241. I don't know. I need to see volume come into this one, right? Because it's just kind of trodden along sideways. I saw it break its early high today, but there was no volume. This is where it happened. Here's the early high. Here's where it broke it. Look, during lunch, no volume. I didn't touch it. I got to have volume to play these. So I'm just going to keep it on watch and see if we get some volume. Let's see, a few more. Dropbox, DBX, had a nice bounce today, held this 1850 support, but when you look at it on an intraday basis, look at that big spike it had. I think this was on an insider buy. and a pretty big buy. I want to say 500,000 shares or something for stock this price. That's a lot of money. So that one's worth watching. It gave a nice pullback and ended up closing pretty strong. So while the daily's not beautiful, it's been beaten up for a couple days. It held support and had that nice intraday pop, so it might continue tomorrow. The letter I, really, really beaten up. Just 2 days straight off a cliff. Took out these lows from back in March, but did kind of put in a little bit of some buying pressure at the end of the day. I'm going to watch that one too, just for a, kind of a dead cat bounce or whatever. Couple more. SIEN had this gap up, and then now it's kind of pulled back for a few days on decreasing volume. This is another one where I'd like to see an afternoon high of day break, but we'll see, right? And then lastly, this one's kind of obscure too. Workhorse, WKHS, had this big move, about a week ago? And now 4 days down in a row on declining volume, pretty much retesting support. So again, it's another one I'd like to see an afternoon breakout. I'm not in love with this list, but there's been, man, if you didn't see Disney today, I mean, there's been some big movers. So, let's stay on our toes because there's going to be plenty to trade. The market is actually giving a lot of opportunities. But we've got to stay vigilant and make sure we're looking for them. And when you miss something like a Disney, there's almost always pullback opportunities. I'll share this real quick. I missed this pullback opportunity. There's the daily on Disney. If you weren't in chat today, I called this looking for the 145 flush right there near the 520 in the buy zone. It was the strongest stock on the planet. So a 144.99 bid, and guess what? You're filled. It went to 97. I was sitting down here at 92. So even after this monster move, if you were sitting right below that 145, looking for that whole number flush in the buy zone like we teach, right? Even though you missed this monster move, guess what? You get filled basically at 145. You still ended up getting a $5 move out of it. So remember that. There's a great lesson there. We can all miss a huge move. And in the past, I used to just dismiss it and say, well, I'm an idiot. Now I always catch myself reminding myself, hey, look for those buy zone pullbacks. Look for those whole number flushes. Look for what we teach, right? And you still could have gotten $5 out of Disney. Now, I was sitting there, but I missed my entry by like 6 cents or something. As strong as it was, I probably should have just been sitting right at the whole number. Anyway, there's a good lesson there, all right? You don't necessarily miss out on all the money that a stock can give just because you missed the initial move. Hope that makes sense to everybody. I'm done babbling. We'll see you in chat tomorrow.